personal stories and play our favorite Christmas songs.
The Silent Night for Sleepy Joe Biden.
Starting Christmas Eve at 6.
He's tired.
And Christmas morning at 6.
News Talk STL's Family Christmas.
Brought to you by Jules on Hampton, PJ's Coffee, and Dirty Dan's Pizza. This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. With the average funeral bill being over $9,000, are your loved ones prepared? Call 314-866-8886 or memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Lots of sunshine early this afternoon with clouds increasing later today. We're looking for a high temperature in the mid-50s. We'll see a few showers overnight tonight into very early tomorrow morning, but I think by sunrise they're out of here. Skies will become sunny during the afternoon, so we start off a little cloudy tomorrow, and it'll be a cooler, breezy day with a high of 46. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Every day it's something new. No one else is really talking about this.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too.
Trump's doing the right thing.
You know, there's so many issues.
It's over.
I think you're politically wrong.
Very upset.
I will have to agree with you.
You're one of the sweetest guys in the world for a guy who's so bad on politics.
101.9 and 94.1.
Your platform is like really, really important to us.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Bring joy to the world, it's the thing to do. But the world does not revolve around you. Don't be a jerk. It's Christmas. It's Christmas.
Happy holidays. Welcome to Colombo and Company on News Talk STL.
Hello, welcome to Tuesday afternoon here on Colombo and Company. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Johnny. Got a great show for you today. Going to talk to Susie Moore from Red State in about an hour, just after 3 o'clock. And we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk to Crane Durham. He's going to join us here in just a second. He's going to be with us for the 2 o'clock hour. And it's the same type of breaking news today as the last time we talked to Crane, which is kind of ironic, but also kind of perfect because we can just continue the conversation. So one of the big stories of the day, we're learning more and more about the people who got pardoned or had their sentences commuted. And the stories just keep getting worse and worse. And I have two more for you that we're going to get into this afternoon. Also, here we go again. A lot of headlines, a lot of stories, a lot of rumors coming out of Washington, D.C. about congressional Republicans being upset with Speaker Mike Johnson. They are hinting at the idea of maybe not voting for him to be the next Speaker of the House when the House has to vote in January, and he basically needs, nearly every single Republican. So much like we've seen in the recent past, it only takes a very few Republican congressmen and women to start a whole nother big pile of drama there. And I can't think of a worse or more progress hindering way to start the Trump administration than with a whole nother Speaker of the House debate throughout the Republican Party. So we'll get you up to speed on those stories and more. And like I mentioned, here to help us this afternoon is the great Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. And Crane, this holiday season, this crazy political season, you can't help it. Brothers got to stick together, and brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got to hug.
And a quick squeeze, a look at each other, and then let's get to it because there's a lot.
We got work to do.
We got work to do. Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw these. I actually I thought I was only going to have one of these stories today, and then literally just minutes ago saw another story about another one of these criminals that has been pardoned by Joe Biden. So let's start there. We'll start with one that's actually kind of close to home. President Biden added the woman behind the largest municipal embezzlement scandal in U.S. history to his list of clemency controversies, outraging a small Illinois community in the process. The former Dixon, Illinois comptroller, Rita Crundwell, is 71 years old. She stole nearly $54 million from the town of Dixon over 22 years of working for them and pled guilty to the crime. In 2012, she had her sentence commuted as part of the 1,500 people last week. So, Crane, as we have talked about, I've talked about it on the show multiple times. You and I have spoke about this in our conversations also. It's not just the fact that he commuted 1,500 sentences and pardoned 63 people, the most ever in a single day in United States presidential history. It's the people that we had the Cash for Kids judge that was, cashing in on struggling children. He's out now. This woman, Rita Crundwell, who stole $54 million from a small town in Illinois, is on the streets. I want to read some of the details of this, but I just want to get your initial thoughts.
It saddens me, and it goes to the weakening of our criminal justice system.
Mm.
And the reason we have laws and we enforce those laws is to send the signal, take an incentive away from people committing those crimes, disincentivize, and also show there's an example. Hey, if you break the rules, there's a consequence. And we believe in those consequences because it upholds the rule of law and our ordered liberty that we live under.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you said it like that, because I just had the thought as you're saying that I don't think there's ever been a moment in time or a political party that has been more soft on crime than it ever. Like, I can't think of a time in history where we have been so lenient, so like doing everything we can to think of every reason possible to let a criminal off the hook. What can we do? What can we come up with? Are they an illegal immigrant? Because then we can, use their struggle, to pardon their, and not in the presidential way, but to forgive their crimes. Yeah. Are they, COVID? When we're not supposed to have, let's use that as a way to let people out of jail. Just like anything that they can come up with, they run with, and it's at the detriment of society. And not to be a broken record, but obviously, again, one of the driving points behind the massive, overwhelming victory for Donald Trump and the mandate and the fed upness, new word, of the American people. Here's the details. Dixon city manager and former police chief Danny Langloss said, quote, "Rita's crime absolutely shocks the conscience." At her sentencing on February 14th, 2013, the judge said that a significant prison sentence was essential to reestablish public trust and confidence, so what we've seen here over the last week is just unbelievable and really a complete betrayal by the federal criminal justice system. Illinois Republican state rep Darren LaHood also criticized the sweeping commutation in a statement, saying, quote, "While many families in Dixon were living paycheck to paycheck, she took advantage of their trust in government and used her access to live an unearned life of luxury in what the FBI still believes to be the largest theft of public funds in United States history. Commuting her 20-year sentence is a slap in the face to all hardworking police officers, firefighters, city workers, and residents of Dixon. Democratic Rep Eric Sorensen, so it's both sides of the political aisle that are speaking out against this. Democratic Rep Eric Sorensen said, quote, she pleaded guilty, got the max sentence, but then only served 8 years. Getting off scot-free today is such a load of BS. That Crane, that is incredible to me that this woman who stole $54 million from just hardworking middle-class Americans, Midwest Americans, and it is recognized by the FBI as the largest theft of public funds in U.S. history. And Joe Biden's like, yeah, put her on the list. Let her out.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. And you mentioned how a lot of these issues are covered when it comes to justice. And oftentimes they throw compassion into the argument. And yet there's no compassion for the people that are doing the jobs day to day, playing by the rules, believing we have a system that where Lady Justice is blindfolded, and understanding that. You see, we have this great gift. We have this wonderful country, this great constitutional republic, but we've got to live up to it. And we're not. And at a time when we're losing faith in our institutions, and I say rightfully so, because of the two-tier justice system, for a whole host of reasons. The drone situation, you could even take it there. That's my jumping off point in a recent commentary. The idea is, Tony, what you've pointed out is we're sitting back and going, how is this happening?
Yeah.
This guy was supposed to come in and return us to normal and get right on the right track. And he's as corrupt as they come.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
So we come back and we go, okay, finally, I mean, it's a good thing Republican and Democrat actually agree, but it sends the wrong signal and people get the idea of a two-tier justice system.
Yeah.
And when people stop believing in the system, they go outside that system.
Right.
And we get all sorts of things that we don't want, like vigilantism.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen this when lies and corruption hurt our institutions. I always bring up Black Lives Matter because hands up, don't loot will always be the biggest lie. Oh, actually, it's a shoot. Yes, pardon. And though the loss of life, always tragic, it was exploited. We were lied about, and it undermined our faith, oftentimes Americans' faith in the institution of our police. And they basically were claiming, hey, cops are going out and hunting minorities. And it's absurd. But if you want to undo a country, if you want to take something out that is holding it up, take out the rule of law and the enforcement of that and the institutions that are there to enforce the law and corrupt those. If you do that, then we live in a banana republic. I mean, that's what it becomes. It's terrible.
I'm so glad you brought up the word compassion, because I want you and everybody else to keep that in mind as I read the second story, because you are so right. That's what they fall back on. The idea of, with this woman, probably, like, oh, she's a 71-year-old grandmother. She doesn't need to be in jail. Like they play they play the compassion card. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that that's what they said. I'm just saying that this is the type of, this is an example of the type of things that we have heard, and applying it to this situation. That idea of trying to create a compassionate story of why this person should not go to jail or should not face, justice at a high level or whatever it may be. And nobody considers or brings up the compassion for the victims, which in many cases are multiple and in many cases severe. And it's just incredible. And this is a perfect example of that. And we've talked about, and I said it from the very beginning, is when we were super upset about the day when just the numbers came out, before we started learning about this stuff, before we learned about the judge, the Cash for Kids judge, and before we learned about this situation in Dixon, and before we learned about the other story I'm about to tell you, I said, this is bad enough, but wait until we start to learn about these people. I bet it gets worse. And I'm actually surprised at how bad
that was in your first response, by the way. Response to that was your response.
I bet it gets.
Wait till we hear about it.
And even I'm surprised at how at the type of people that are being released, because these are not the compassionate criminals that are down on their luck or having a hard time and made a mistake and
hit a guy in the bar in self-defense and he hit his head, and next thing you know, they're in jail for 5 years.
Yeah, or they're a non-violent drug user, that made some bad decisions and went down the wrong path in life. But no, we're the largest theft of public funds in U.S. history, a crime that spanned over 22 years and stole $54 million. There's no compassion for a person like that. And as crazy as that is, the largest theft of public funds in U.S. history, I think the next one is even worse. And I think you'll probably agree. So I don't want to go too long here because I want to give this story the proper time. So we're going to take a quick early break. We're going to continue this conversation with Crane Durham, and I'm going to tell you about another one of these people that have been released, had their sentence commuted by Joe Biden last week. And this one is really offensive and disgusting. Almost as offensive as this song. I needed that, Johnny. Thank you. We continue the conversation with Crane Durham next here on Colombo and Company.
She'd been drinking too much eggnog.
News, analysis, opinion.
They're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
If you are thinking about selling your home, the Walner Home Selling Team of Berkshire Hathaway is the only place to call, the best place to call by far. The Walners are just great people, easy to work with, and they have the reputation and the stats, the numbers to back up, just how successful they are for the people that they work with. The Walners are selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical home seller. They have so many qualified buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois. So no matter where you are in the St. Louis metro area, Rodney and Jen Walner can help you. You guys have heard me talk about my experience with Rodney and Jen. Christine and I, we consider Rodney and Jen friends. And that is just from our experience working with them. They really are hands-on. They have a work ethic that is second to none. They are just great people, easy to work with, and really have your best interest in mind. And that was so important for Christine and I, because not only were we selling our home, but we were also buying a new home on the other side of things, our new family home. So a lot riding on all of that being as successful as possible, and the Walners absolutely over-delivered. Much like it was for us a couple years ago when we went through this process with the Walners, it is a seller's market right now. Still a great time to sell your home. So if this is something you've been thinking about, don't wait. Don't let that opportunity pass you by. Take advantage of the market and make sure you are working with St. Louis's #1 home selling team, the Walner Home Selling Team. Call them now at 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Walner Home Selling Team.
Craving delicious homemade pizza made with the freshest ingredients? Head to Woodson Stonefire in the heart of St. Charles. This family-owned restaurant offers a wide variety of pizzas and comfort foods, all crafted with passion and love. Woodson Stonefire is the only place to go for the best pizza and wings in town. Why settle for a chain pizza when you can enjoy local, homemade goodness? Woodson Stonefire, 3120 West Clay in St. Charles. For carry-out, call 636-493-0532.
Hey, how you doing? Santa Vic here.
And Santa's head Vic head here.
And you can win some great prizes with News Talk STL's St. Louis Conservative Christmas.
You forgot the ho ho ho.
What?
You forgot the ho ho ho.
Oh!
No, ho ho.
Oh!
A St. Louis Conservative Christmas. Log on to newstalkstl.com for your chance to win. Brought to you by Woodson Stonefire, Tropical World Pets, El Morelia Supermercado, and Metro Shooting Supplies.
Oh!
Parents want more choices rather than fewer when it comes to their children's education. And now some Missouri parents will have one more option to get their children the best education available. Low-income students and those with disabilities in Missouri's largest communities can now apply for an Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA. With an ESA, the money the state would normally pay to your child's public school goes into an account that you control. You can use the funds for private school tuition, online learning programs, a private tutor, or other approved uses. You can tailor your child's education. For too long, Missouri officials have operated on the mistaken notion that parents only need one choice. They're assigned public school based on their address. ESAs put parents in charge. It's school choice at its best, with money following the students to the place that best fits their needs. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. This Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
David Stokes of the Show Me Institute on finally eliminating the state income tax. At 5:20, Dr. Randy Tolber, the prescription for your holiday blues.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo in studio with producer Johnny and Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com on the line with us. So, learning more about the people that had their sentences commuted or pardoned by Joe Biden last week, and as I was concerned and worried about what type of people, what type of criminals are being released, having their sentences, just being just getting off scot-free. And it's even worse than I thought it would be. So we just talked about the woman behind the largest municipal embezzlement scandal in United States history, Rita Crundwell from Dixon, Illinois, who stole nearly $54 million from that city over the span of 22 years, has just had her sentence commuted. So she's out. And you would think that setting a United States record would be maybe the worst person on the list. But Crane, I don't think she is, because we also learned today that Biden's clemency extended to a doctor in a chemotherapy fraud scheme. A doctor in federal prison for chemotherapy fraud was among the recent recipients of clemency from President Biden, a stark contrast given to the president's longtime advocacy for cancer patients. Give me a break. This doctor's name is it's Satsdiva. We're just going to say Doc because it's a weird name. Pleaded guilty in 2012 to the federal charges, which included defrauding health insurance providers and Medicare by submitting false claims on behalf of the patients he was treating. In addition to the prison time, she was also ordered to pay nearly $8.2 million in restitution. U.S. prosecutors said that between 2007 and 2011, this doctor's patients believed they were receiving an amount of chemotherapy equal to the amount being billed to their respective healthcare benefit programs, but that patients were instead receiving reduced dosages lower than the prescribed and billed amount of chemotherapy drugs. A district court judge in Jackson, Mississippi, said that he was appalled by this doctor's treatment of her patients at a vulnerable time in their lives. The judge said, quote, "It's a very small thing to send this woman to jail for the next 20 years when you compare it to the damage that she has done to her patients." That's what the judge said when he sentenced this judge. So when you hear that first part, I can already hear the brain dead take of, oh, well, she was only scamming Medicare, and she was only scamming health insurance companies, and they're too rich anyway, which they are too rich anyway, and they got a lot of corruption. But that doesn't mean that a doctor, that doesn't give you any right to steal from anybody. But then to also have not been giving the proper amount of chemotherapy, lowering the dosages for her patients, and telling those patients that they are still getting the full dosage of chemotherapy. Crane, this is about the most evil a person can be, and Joe Biden just let her out of jail.
Yeah. And
it's unbelievable, isn't it? It stops you in your tracks.
Yeah. I mean, if what's alleged is true and that she's convicted of it. So
yeah, it's true. She was sentenced for this.
So the idea here is that she's had a direct impact on these people's lives, to their health and their recovery, hopefully. And basically, I mean, this is like allowing people to die.
Yes.
This is unbelievable. And again, what do we hold up in our society? What do we punish? I remember, when you were telling the story, I was like, oh, I saw Law and Order on this, like Criminal Intent on this. And a guy was doing that, and it was a long story. But the point is, you sit there and go, no way somebody's doing it. And then you read, oh, they are doing that. So what should be the consequence? What speaks up for the victims to make sure this stuff doesn't happen again? Because people are looking at it going, I don't want to go to jail for the rest of my life. I don't want to have to deal. I don't want my dance card full with a bunch of people that I really don't want to go with. Okay. And that is the truth. You sit back and you go, unpleasant, see the light of day for the rest of your life, because we value life.
Mm-hmm.
And this shows us that we disrespect life. And it also shows you that there's a justice system if you're connected. And it is the justice you get paid for. And it's oftentimes a tax that I really don't like on our justice system, because I don't think it's institutionalized that way, because people will get a fair shake in our justice system. I believe in our justice system, but it undermines that belief. And it makes you sick to your stomach. I mean, imagine if you were president, Tony, and you were giving this commutation. You were doing that. I dare say that you couldn't look yourself in the mirror.
No.
You'd be so sick in your stomach, the idea that you'd do something like that. Or if you were the vice president and you're sitting there and the president's doing this and you're saying, what are you doing? It's like looking at your friend after something horrible. Like they've done something that is just beyond the pale. And you're like, how does this happen? Yeah. Who are you? This is sick.
And if I thought of the possibility of these type of criminals being set free, because this is all stems from COVID. This all stems from all these criminals, all these prisoners are people that were let out of jail and put on home confinement because they couldn't be next to each other during the pandemic in jail. And they're supposed to go back to jail after the pandemic was over. At least that's what common sense would tell you. But instead, now, since they've been out of jail already, living at home for a few years now, so we can't put them back in jail. So just blanket pardon or commute all of these sentences. If it takes me and you, Crane, about a half a second to ask the question, but what kind of criminals are we talking about? What level, what crimes have we? Let's maybe check that out before we just issue this blanket statement. And maybe they did. The blanket pardoning is the best case scenario. That they just
don't know better.
They just didn't look. They just said, oh, all these people got sent home and just they've been living over a few years. Just commute the sentences. That's best case scenario, which is already horrible. Worst case scenario is they did know the level of some of these crimes and they still allowed this to happen. A doctor that was a cancer doctor that was lying to their patients about their chemotherapy. I mean,
And
that
by
is the
way,
most
everyone here,
indefensible scum of the earth you can think of. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I apologize for
You're
cutting
fine.
off there. But the fact is, if you are above the age of 40, you know somebody or you have been a cancer patient, and you know how hard it is physically, mentally, spiritually, how hard it is because it's the big C. And when you're going through treatment, yeah, I think of a friend recently who was going through this time after time, and she was weak with chemotherapy. It was awful.
Yeah.
And it came back every day, but she still had the spirit to do that, go through. Now you talk about the person whose first rule is do no harm.
Right.
And this person is in essence aiding their death.
Yes, absolutely.
Causing
And
tremendous
enriching
pain.
and enriching themselves at the same time at a overwhelming millions and millions of dollars, enriching themselves at the same time. And not only does this bring back all of the pain and horror for this doctor's patients, for people like you and me and almost everybody has been touched by cancer in some way. My father passed away of cancer. For people that have to hear a story like this, it brings back all of that pain and memories of that horrible period of time of watching a loved one or a friend go through that, and knowing that this doctor is now walking free because of there's nobody else in the conversation because of Joe Biden. Joe Biden let this doctor go free, and it's no deeper than that. It doesn't go any further than that. This man, who is supposed to be the president of the United States, upholding our laws and values, is letting this doctor out of jail, is letting the woman responsible for the largest United States largest theft of public funds in U.S. history out of jail. The judge, the Cash for Kids judge, out of jail. And now think about those cases. A judge that was using his power and influence to hurt and take advantage of vulnerable children to enrich himself. A woman that for 22 years stole from a small middle class Midwestern city and put over $54 million in her own pocket, and a doctor that was supposed to be treating cancer patients that were, as you said, essentially aiding in their death while enriching themselves off of that. Keep those three stories in mind, and remember the White House's statement that they issued about these 1,500 commutations. Yeah. And the 63 pardons. They said, quote, "These actions build on the president's record of criminal justice reform to help reunite families, strengthen communities, and reintegrate individuals back into society. The president has issued more sentence commutations at this point in his presidency than any of his recent predecessors at the same point in their first 4 years." That was the statement from the White House. Very proud of letting these people out of jail. Also last week, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that this move was part of the president's focus on the importance of second chances.
That is unbelievable in so many ways. By the way, I'm a huge believer. As you know, I coach tennis, I teach tennis, and one of the things I always do is if somebody misses, they get to say sorry, John Bon Jovi.
That's a fantastic ringtone. Yeah,
that is. Yeah. Back to it.
Sorry.
Getting Bon Jovi, and it happens. But I sit there and they yell out. I have them say, "America," And I go, because it's the land of second chances. And it is. It's the
Mm-hmm.
last great hope for mankind. And
Mhm.
we have the system to do it. And I believe in it. You're not going to get it in Cuba. Not going to get it in China. You're not going to get it in Russia.
Mm-mm.
No, you're going to get it here. But these are assaults to our system.
Yeah.
And the way we deal with them and the way we handle them and the way we look at leadership that endorses this speaks volumes about us. We need to hold people to account. People should be asked about this. Are you comfortable with this as a Democrat and supporting Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with this? Because look at this. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, or supporting
Because it
any
should be
Democrat.
universally repudiated.
Yeah, any Democrat that is part of this new Democratic Party that has formed, starting with Barack Obama, and has formed over the last 10 years, this soft on crime, extremely progressive party that lets these type of people out of jail, that makes excuses for boys playing girl sports, that wants to eliminate parents from decisions in their children's lives at every level, both educationally and medically, that puts illegal immigrants ahead of
American
legal citizens, that wants to have the government control every aspect of your life, that wants to take away your guns. I mean, just this is the party that they are. And I think that these stories are so important. And last point on this, just these three stories alone: a judge, a city comptroller, and a doctor. These are not, these are powerful, rich, influential people. These are not the down on your luck people that are struggling, that made a mistake. Hope it didn't maybe hurt anybody at a significant level. More is on themselves.
Malice.
Yes,
right.
Those are the ones that you could make. The drug addicts that that made bad decisions, and or nonviolent drug offenders that made bad decisions.
Struggle with addiction.
These are the people, that struggle with addictions, things like that. These are the people that you could make an honest case for needing a second chance for, not a doctor that is withholding chemotherapy treatment from their patients in order to enrich themselves, not a comptroller that is lining their pockets with $54 million of hardworking middle-class Americans, not a judge that is exploiting vulnerable kids. These are not the people that need second chances. These are not the people.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's my point. My point.
Yeah, these are not the people that deserve those. But we're not even giving the people who are guilty of this, who are being released.
The ones that truly need a second chance are still sitting in jail. Well, these people, I almost said a bad word, are walking free.
And it does a tremendous disservice. And we recognize that, hey, life isn't forever and we're going to meet our maker. One of the things that happens when you are in prison, I'm for prison reform. I don't like the idea that we just make it, hey, anything goes there and prison will take care of them. No, I believe we should have an ordered process, one that is, yes, not fun, harsh, but ordered, and so that you have some kind of system that you can live in. And people say, why do you care about that? Because I believe in the justice system. And I believe if you put somebody behind bars for the rest of their life, that's a good sentence if they committed a crime worthy of that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to get straight with their maker. And they're not going to get straight with their maker when they get out of jail and sit there and say, you know what, I manipulated the system. I'm really not that bad. But when you're about people on death row, they have the opportunity to get straight with their maker. And I know this is kind of odd, but I'm saying it hurts everybody.
It does.
Because you are not enforcing the law, and by not doing that, you're taking the value of life from the victims.
And people need to realize the level that we have reached, that these are the people that are being released, because unfortunately, these are the stories that don't get talked about because there's so much happening in this insane world. These important stories do not get talked about and exposed. And I think that that's why it's so important that we talk about them. We're talking to Crane Durham from nothingbutruth.com. We talked last week about AOC and her bid to be the chairman on the House Oversight Committee, which would make her one of the most powerful Democrats in the next congressional session. She lost that bid today. However, I don't think that that's anything to celebrate, because I'll tell you about who won and their plan for this new congressional session. And it's another shining example of Democrats not getting the message that was sent loud and clear by American voters on election day, that they are fed up with this dangerous, damaging, ridiculous level of progressive politics that we have seen over the last few years. And believe it or not, I think this person might be even worse, or at least has an even worse plan than AOC could have. We'll tell you that story and more as we continue with Crane Durham from nothingbutruth.com next here on Colombo and Company.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Free speech is alive and well in America.
So what's going on?
Right here.
To me, this looks like the run-up to World War II.
News Talk STL.
They're playing with fire. Democrats are destroying the country.
News, analysis, opinion.
Great store in St. Peter's that has been there for nearly 100 years that you may not even be aware of is the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store there in Old Town St. Peter's. If you've never been there, if you haven't been there for a while, you need to get out there and check them out. They have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of yard, lawn, and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, including anything from farm livestock to the family dog or cat, anything for property management or property care. They'll also fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Just an awesome place. Tons of great products and services for your property, for your home, for your animals. You can visit them in St. Peter's. They're on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive. If you've ever seen the big 2-story grain elevator that you can see from the street, you can actually see it from the interstate. That's them. That's the Farmers Co-op, Old Town Country Store. Check them out in person and learn more about all those great products and services on their website, oldtowncountrystore.com.
Tim Jones here for my favorite St. Louis Sports Bar and Grill experience, the go-to spot of Johnny's Hideout. Johnny's Hideout featuring over 40 big screen TVs to watch all the great games this college and NFL season. Awesome food specials every single day that I absolutely love. Bike nights, classic cars on Wednesdays, live music every weekend, and a fantastic time to visit the gorgeous Sunset Patio. Located just 10 minutes from 270 in Gravois, open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. onwards. All the information you need to know at jhideout.com. That's jhideout.com. Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge.
I've got a way for you to really dress up your home, and only one guy I'd trust to do it. Michael Proctor, like doctor. Michael will personally examine which drapes, blinds, or shutters will complement your home. He doesn't just measure, he designs, and to make sure it's done right, he will install them. All this saves you money on custom-made drapes, shades, and shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. ProctorDrapery.com.
It's that time of year when you're either thinking about maybe sprucing up your home after the first of the year, or you're worried about all of the stuff that you're tracking in from the weather outside. And either way, you're thinking it might be time for new flooring. So who do you go to when you need new flooring? Michael's Flooring Outlet. They're a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years, so you know you can rely on them. I've used Michael's and I had a great experience with them, and you will too. If it's variety you want, Michael's has it. They've got ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, carpet, hardwood, natural stone, laminate, lots of options for you to choose from. Plus, you know with Michael's, your installation is going to be done right the first time because you're relying on the experts at Michael's and not just a random subcontractor. With Michael's, you get the best combination. You save money and you get great quality. So shop in store at one of their 3 locations, on Olive and Creve Coeur, on Town Square in Dardenne Prairie, or on Main Street in St. Peters. Or you can shop in the comfort of your own home. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 119 94.1 News Talk STL. Joined on the line by Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. He's with us for another 10 minutes or so. And then Susan Moore from Red State will join us in the 3 o'clock hour. Crane, if you remember, we talked about this week or so ago. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was making a bid to become the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee. She lost that race to Representative Jerry Connolly of Virginia. Connolly, 74 years old, bested the 35-year-old Ocasio-Cortez, another ancient Democrat at the top of the party. With some really bad ideas. So this vote went down 131 to 84 in favor of Jerry Connolly of Virginia over AOC. He said in a statement afterwards, quote, "I thank my colleagues for their support and the confidence they've placed in me to lead House Democrats on the Oversight Committee." Connolly said in his statement, when discussing how he'll approach his position, Connolly called out the, quote, Republican playbook, in which he accused Republicans of using, quote, debunked conspiracy theories and enabling the worst abuses of the Trump administration. In his written statement, Connolly said Democrats will be disciplined and laser focused on getting results on the kitchen table issues that are affecting the American people the most. You can tell he's 74 years old when he says kitchen table issues that are affecting the American people. How long has that been written down at the top of his notes? He goes on to say, quote, "We will stand up for democracy and for truth, and we will protect the tremendous and historic progress we have made as House Democrats." He also said, quote, "This will be trench warfare. Now is not the time to be timid. I promise the American people that our committee Democrats will be a beacon of truth and prepared from day one to counter Republican gaslighting." That statement, Crane, is gaslighting. Go ahead.
It is total projection.
Yes.
This is what you have so many times. I mean, and Democrats oftentimes are guilty of this. Not all Democrats, but liberal, far left Democrats, yes, because they don't have the case. So they have to make it about things like race. They have to make it about things that are not connected to the facts. They have to make it about emotion. Or if he really wants to clean everything up, then take a good look at the 4 years of Donald Trump, the first 2 with Russiagate. Take a look at what George Stephanopoulos did and maybe take a lesson from that. George Stephanopoulos thought he was above the law in the sense of above accountability, and a civil lawsuit against him loses $15 million. Goes on Colbert before this and bragged about it. You know, in essence, and he said, "I'm going to carry, basically the light of truth." Okay. These people are totally and completely out of touch. And I'm surprised that we didn't have the election wake them up. But there are other elections and more elections. And I think what you're going to see more of, and I'm heartened by this because I don't agree with the Democratic Party's platform, and I speak out against it ideologically in so many ways and practically. But you're going to see more people like John Fetterman and Shapiro out of Pennsylvania.
Who would have ever predicted that John Fetterman would be an example of common sense? And like you just said, there's certainly things that I am diametrically opposed to John Fetterman on, but he has more than any Senate Democrat that comes to mind, immediately been embraced common sense more than anybody I can think of during this past 4 years. I certainly would not have thought I would ever say that 4 years ago when he was elected.
No, I was wrong, and I'm glad he's recovered. And I appreciate his heart. I appreciate him speaking out for what he believes in. Pretty low bar, though, when we're talking about Hamas,
that's true.
Talking points.
That's
I
true.
mean, hey, I'm against the killing of Jews. I thought we were all on board with that. I'm against intimidating them and blaming them for things that are not their fault.
Yeah.
I'm against accusing a country that had enacted genocide against it and accusing them of genocide. I'm against total Islamist propaganda that's designed to rid Jews of the planet, rid Jews of our planet. I'm really against that. I think that stuff is really sick. Well,
it's such a great point that just being a Democrat that says, yeah, I'm not on the terrorist side. I'm on the side of our ally Israel. Like just that statement is enough to say, wow, look at this guy.
Wow. Somebody's making a statement in that party.
That's the lowest bar that you could ever set, but good for him for being above it. I guess Joe Manchin would be on that list also, but Joe Manchin's kind of a man among himself when it comes to that Democratic Party. Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. You can see him there every day, nothingbutTruth.com and the Nothing But Truth Facebook page. And actually, I am going to be heading to Disney for the next few days to visit Grace. We're heading down there to Florida to visit our daughter for Christmas. And Crane will be captaining the ship for the next few days. And so thank you so much, Crane, for that. And I'll definitely
I know
be
I can't fill the shoes, but I will keep the seat warm for you. And I appreciate you.
Well,
one of the things that
I'll be checking in as well.
Your show.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll talk. We'll have a good conversation. And of course, we'll begin, as always, with a hug.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'll definitely be checking in with you, hopefully from some good weather down there, and certainly appreciate your help as always, my friend. Again, every day, Crane Durham at nothingbutTruth.com and the Nothing But Truth Facebook page. We'll talk to you tomorrow, buddy. Thanks so much.
Love you.
Back at you. Great stuff there from Crane Durham. All right, we are rolling on. Susie Moore from Red State joins us next. Some Republicans in Congress are upset with Speaker Mike Johnson and hinting that we could be on another battle about the speakership. I'm not sure that that's great for the Republican Party, but we will talk about that story with Susie Moore next.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
This holiday season, make your brand shine with Blue Sky Apparel and Promotions.
Need uniforms, signage, trophies, or promotional gear? We do it all. A woman-owned, local business that turns your brand vision into reality. From clothing to plaques, we've got you covered.
Call 314-739-4531 or visit blueskypromotion.com.
Blue Sky Apparel and Promotions. We're here to promote your brand.
There's no pizza like Napoli Brothers Pasta and Pizza in the district Chesterfield Valley. That's because in Napoli, your pizza is in a coal-fired oven. One taste, you're going to want more. Grab a gift card. Good for all Napoli locations. And a few doors down, enjoy the atmosphere of Lit Cigar Lounge. High-end cigars, single-barrel whiskey. Before you leave, pick up gift cards for family and friends at Lit Cigar Lounge.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of three places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at serenitynowtax.com. That's serenitynowtax.com to get your free copy of the new Holistic Retirement. That's serenitynowtax.com. Serenity Now with Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Non-stop. Congressional leaders approving an agreement that will keep the federal government funded through March 14th. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the government funding bill will have more than $100 billion in disaster aid.
I wish it weren't necessary. I wish we hadn't had record hurricanes in the fall, and I wish our farmers were not in a bind so much that creditors are not able to lend to them anymore. We have to be able to help those who are in these dire straits, and that's what the volume of the pages to this.
The stopgap measure will prevent a partial government shutdown set to begin after midnight Friday. Also at townhall.com, in 2010, police searching for a missing woman began finding human remains in the scrub along a barrier island parkway near New York's Gilgo Beach. Police almost immediately feared some were left by a serial killer. Over the years, investigators used DNA analysis and other clues to identify the victims. Prosecutors charging a Long Island architect, Rex Heuermann, in 7 deaths now. Suffolk County DA Ray Tierney says they found what they consider mementos from the killings and a planning document at Heuermann's home.
We see that one of the dump sites which were discussed in that document was Mill Road, which was the road that Valerie was found in the vicinity of. We also have seen during our searches a number of articles with regard to the Gilgo Beach investigation in various publications.
Heuermann has pleaded not guilty. Police in Madison, Wisconsin are still searching for a motive after a 15-year-old girl opened fire at a Christian school. Killing 2 people, she then shot herself. 6 people were wounded. On Wall Street, a lower close. The Dow dropped 267 points. The NASDAQ down 64. More at townhall.com.
You know, as they say, one person's personal information is another person's treasure.
Exactly. That's why I use NordVPN every time I surf the web. Features like Threat Protection Pro's safeguard devices from phishing websites and disable intrusive ads and trackers. Just check NordVPN.com, grab the deal, and see for yourself. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
Sorry, ma'am, but you need to vacate this home.
Why, officer? I own this home free and clear. I lived here for 40 years.
Well, unfortunately, this paperwork says otherwise.
But I have nowhere else to go.
I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am.
This story is becoming all too common in the U.S. Scammers are preying on people with high equity or who own their homes free and clear of a mortgage. Only one company completely protects you. That's Equity Protect. Get your free risk report by texting the word home to 94878. Again, text the word home to 94878 to get your free risk report from Equity Protect. Bible.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Lots of sunshine early this afternoon with clouds increasing later today. We're looking for a high temperature in the mid-50s. We'll see a few showers overnight tonight into very early tomorrow morning, but I think by sunrise they're out of here. Skies will become sunny during the afternoon, so we start off a little cloudy tomorrow, and it'll be a cooler, breezy day with a high of 46. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL, brought to you by Jewels on Hampton, paying some of the highest prices for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Call 314-752-5000 or visit jewelsonhampton.com.
Fox News commentary.
Some Democrats are threatening to boycott President Trump's inauguration. Who wants to tell him no one cares? I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Hi, I'm Ron Kraszewski, Chairman and CEO of Stifel. Financial advisors, let's face it, if you're not growing your practice, you're losing market share. Stifel is a growing, entrepreneurial, advisor-centric firm built for successful advisors like you. There's a reason why 148 financial advisors joined Stifel last year. Come join us and find out why Stifel is the firm where success meets success. Visit www.choosestifel.com.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Democrats proclaim to be the party of decency, unity, and democracy, when in reality, they've proven to be the party of hypocrisy, division, and pettiness. Here's another example. According to reports from Axios, more than a dozen congressional Democrats plan to boycott Trump's inauguration on January 20th. Some are doing it to protest Trump and demonstrate their pathetic resistance to his administration, and others are using Martin Luther King Jr. Day as an excuse to sit it out. Squad member and radical rep Ilhan Omar says she will skip because she doesn't want to risk chaos, while Representative Delia Ramirez of Illinois says she, as a Latina, doesn't feel safe attending. All of these are lame excuses from a party of sore losers. Donald Trump won the election and the popular vote. The American people gave him the White House, and Republicans the House and Senate. Clearly, these bitter Democrat Bettys were asleep on November 5th, but still, they will not be missed. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
Don't always agree, but in love listening to your radio station.
This is tyrannical stuff they're doing.
Elections have consequences. This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Big thanks to Crane Durham for joining us in that 2 o'clock hour. If you missed any of it, make sure that you are subscribed to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform, because we put the show out every day right after we get off the air on just about every podcast platform. So best way to make sure that you don't miss anything is to be subscribed to Colombo and Company on your favorite podcast platform. How many times did I say podcast platform? I'm Tony. That's Johnny. Susie Moore from Red State is here to save us. Susie, thanks for being here.
That's a lot of pressure to put on a gal in the middle of the afternoon.
No kidding.
What can I do to save you?
Well, let's talk about the Republicans maybe once again being their own worst enemy. I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but this sure feels familiar. Reports out today, and this is not just today. This has been building, and I know that you've, I'm sure, heard these rumors or been, heard these grumblings coming once again out of congressional Republicans that are upset with Speaker Mike Johnson. House GOP hardliners are furious with how congressional leaders are handling the ongoing government funding talks, with some even suggesting they could withhold support from House Speaker Mike Johnson to head their conference again over his handling of the matter. Negotiations are working on a short-term extension, a continuing resolution. I don't know if you've ever heard of a continuing resolution, Susie. I think it's a new thing, that the new tool that they're trying to use there. A bill must pass the House and Senate by the end of Friday, December 20th, to avoid a partial government shutdown. And there's a lot of details here, and we can get into them as we go through the conversation, Susie. But it's everything that we've heard in the past. There are Republicans in Congress that think that Mike Johnson is not holding the line, that he's giving too much, that he's telling, Republicans one thing, but then negotiating other things with Democrats. And now some of them are starting to hint that, even though he got a unanimous vote of support recently, they're starting to hint at some of them that they may not vote for him in January to become speaker. And of course, in this current climate, it takes a very, very few to really gum up the works and start this whole massive process over again. So your thoughts on the reality of this maybe happening again, and about how potentially damaging that could be to the beginning of a new presidential administration?
Well, the fact that it's happening again is hardly surprising, because what ends up happening is they get into the bind with the time and the deadlines, and they kick the can down the road, and the time goes by, and they get to to where the can is, and they're still not ready to deal with it. And the whole issue keeps coming up because they're not dealing with the fundamental problem that's creating it. Now, I know a lot of people are optimistic, myself included, that under the Trump administration, the incoming Trump administration, and with some of the plans he appears to want to implement, that there may be some way to sort of shake some of this morass loose and restructure the way things are done. But then that's putting the cart before the horse, because before we get to the incoming Trump administration, the Congress has to figure out how it's going to handle the funding. And the speaker gets put in a bind because he's got to try and, herd all of his cats and the cats on the other side that are, meowing and hissing. And the people that are, in the fiscal conservative camp have to please their constituents who aren't going to be happy with much of any of it. It's kind of a lose, lose, lose all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
I admire those members of Congress that sort of have, demonstrate that they have a backbone and want to stand up for fiscal conservatism. I also understand that there are political and practical realities that we have to deal with. And the bottom line is, one way or another, it's going to need to get done. And they've got to figure out what's going to cause the least damage to the incoming administration and open up the lanes for the most progress and constructive fixing of the problem once it's in.
Yeah. And the irony here is the continuing resolution is like the, like the get out of jail free card for both sides to not deal with an issue right now and buy yourself some time. And it's actually the continuing resolution that's at the heart of what is creating the division and the problems in the Republican Party right now. I'm going to read you some of the various statements, some from a few different Republican lawmakers, so we can get an idea of exactly what the issue is here. So one Republican in Congress, speaking on anonymity to Fox, said, quote, "The speaker definitely has some no votes and some people considering their options." If that's true, if there's already some no votes and others considering their options, who knows if that's actually true? But if it is, there's almost no way to avoid some drama because a few is all it really takes. Go ahead.
I mean, keep in mind that if you're talking about passing the CR, there's going to be some Democrat votes for it. This isn't going to be a party.
No, I'm talking about his confirmation vote in January.
Oh,
that's what this is about. Yeah, it was saying that. Yeah. When it comes to electing the new speaker, he'll need almost every single Republican to vote yes for him. Yeah. And if there's already a few no's on the table, that's a problem for him. Former House Freedom Caucus Chairman Scott Perry said Johnson's handling of the CR could turn some Republicans against him. Representative Ralph Northam of South Carolina is upset with the speaker and said he would consider not voting for him in January. Several other Republicans told Fox that they felt blindsided by what they viewed as last-minute additions to the CR, which they anticipated would be relatively free of unrelated policy riders. Representative Chip Roy of Texas told reporters, "Swamp is going to swamp, right? 1,400 pages, still haven't seen the text, multiple subject matters, important healthcare legislation in the context, and extenders piled on the back of the 3-month CR with about 110 billion of unpaid for." This is all the quote from Roy. Not the way to do business. Also spoke out against rumored provisions expanding ethanol sales. Representative Scott Fitzgerald of Wisconsin has problems regarding the farm bill and the impact the CR could have on that. Our very own here in Missouri, Republican Eric Burleson, who's been on the show many times, was this week reportedly furious about healthcare provisions included in the discussions in recent days that would lessen the power of pharmacy benefit managers. He said Johnson indicated that the CR would be a clean funding extension without added policies, but apparently that is maybe not the truth. So add Eric Burleson to the list of Republicans in Congress that are currently very unhappy with Speaker Johnson. It just paints all the momentum right now that the Republicans have and should be capitalizing on and taking advantage of. I can't think of a more hindering way to, if you want to slow down progress for Donald Trump and your party at, in January when everybody takes over than to throw us into another Speaker of the House debate. Not saying that that's going to happen, but when you read reports like this and you hear that he's losing support from various members of Congress, it kind of just brings back that old familiar feeling of here we go again.
Well, it does, but I mean, there's something to keep in mind. The only leverage those members who aren't on board with how this is being handled have is to threaten his speakership. That's the only, I mean, they don't have any other power otherwise, because the CR is going to pass one way or the other, and it might be with Democratic votes. And he's got to thread a needle, which is getting the CR passed so that they don't have a government shutdown right at Christmas time, which I realize there's some merit to the idea that maybe you should have one of those. But I know he also wants to walk into a clean Trump administration. I mean, he's been working very closely with Donald Trump to set that up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Mike Johnson is going to allow that to happen. And he's got to be willing to stick his neck out and say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to do what I have to do to fulfill what I need to do and make the next, the 119th Congress work as closely as possible with the incoming Trump administration and as well as it will. So here's what I'm going to do. And maybe that means sacrificing his speakership in the process. I mean, let me put it this way. He's not going to let the threat of losing his speakership change the way he's going to do what he's going to have to do to get this done. Now, you can take issue with that. You can say he's a wuss. You can, throw a shoe at him. Well, don't throw a shoe at him, but, figuratively throw shoes at him. I don't want anybody to get threatened. I don't want any violence. But the bottom line is he's going to do what he has to do to get this CR passed. So that's how politics works. And I am a big fan of the people that kind of try and hold the line and fight the good fight. But I think you also have to pick your battles. And I think if they think picking a battle by threatening his speakership is what's going to win the day for them on this issue, it's not.
And one thing also to keep in mind that may be a little ray of optimism is that when this happened before, it was during a Democratic presidential administration. This time around, there's a leader at the top of the party in Donald Trump that is, within the party, obviously very strong, very influential, and has to this point, and I've never seen anything to waver, he seems to be very much a supporter of Mike Johnson. And
he is.
Having that support is something that, nobody in the Republican Party that was vying for the speakership had, that type of powerful support from the top of the party. Nobody had that before. And that should, I would think, Susie, play, tremendously in Johnson's favor.
I think it does. And I think that's why he's not going to let the threats of this rattle his cage. I think you also have to recognize that some of the people who are squawking the loudest and making the threats are doing that for effect. And recognize that it's, everybody has their little role to play. And, sorry, I've gotten pretty cynical over the years after watching the way politics works.
Sure.
But that's the reality of it.
So in general, where do you stand on this idea? Because part of this is the Republicans' own doing, because they made it so easy when they had so much trouble electing a speaker last time. They sort of changed some of the rules and made it easier for literally just any one member of Congress to basically start the process over if they want to. In general, do you think that that is a damaging, bad way to do politics or run a party? Because I'm torn. If a politician is doing something like, threatening to file against the current speaker, if they're doing that out of genuine belief that they're doing what their constituents put them in office to do, then it's hard to hold a person like that. It's hard to look at them as the bad guy, even though it obviously, without doubt, it harms the progress and even the power of a party when it's at odds with itself. But, it's hard to look at somebody that if they're being genuine about it, and that's the key, if they're being genuine about it, it's hard to say like, if the people that voted for them and put them in this position, if they're representing that truly, it's hard to get angry with them. So I'm kind of torn on where a lot of people demonize when these members of Congress, when they threaten to start something like this. But, I don't think it's, in my opinion, it's just not that easy. Where do you stand in general on that?
Well, I don't think it is easy. And if I'm recalling the order of things correctly, the whole reason it got to the point where a single member could, basically call for the speaker's head on a platter is because Kevin McCarthy made that deal to get something done. And then that came back and bit him on the rear.
Yeah.
But then that in turn came back and bit Matt Gaetz on the rear. So, it's not for the faint of heart. I think that you've got to find a way to balance the value or the goal of keeping a speaker somewhat in check and responsive to their party's desires, and keeping individual members from going rogue and really mucking up the works when it's maybe it's genuine, but maybe sometimes it's for their own clicks and clout. So it's a very delicate balance. It's not an easy thing. And while I am somebody who back in the day probably got much more wound up about these issues every time they came up, I have kind of become a lot more sanguine about it, and recognize that there's not a lot I can do about it. They're going to figure out a way to figure it out. And hopefully in the 119th Congress and with the Trump presidency, they can put in some safeguards and some procedural, guideposts that are going to help remove this from lessen the fact, the chance of this happening.
So in January, and by the way, this whole conversation that we're having about Washington, D.C. applies almost one-to-one to what's happening in the state of Missouri. So, and we're all over that. Don't miss Justin Sparks on Thursday, who is, obviously in the middle of his own run for Speaker of the House here in Missouri, which is, causing a lot of drama as we get ready to start the Missouri legislative session. Tomorrow, we're also going to talk to Missouri political insider Rodney Boyd about that issue and the other things that they're dealing with there in Jeff City as they get ready to start that new legislative session. So definitely be listening to the show this week for those conversations. But Susie, while we have just a couple minutes left here, assuming that Donald Trump and the Republicans assume the White House, the Senate, the House in January and can hit the ground running, what's your expectation as far as those first, let's do the cliche first 100 days? What are you expecting to see as far as the actions taken, the focus of this administration at the beginning?
I think the key areas of focus there's probably going to be 3 or 4 of them. I think we're going to see a lot of moves made with regards to the border and immigration. Anything that Trump can do via executive order and regulation, he will push that very quickly. I think we're going to see the same with regard to energy and energy independence, because that's, once the more independent we are from an energy perspective, the better chance we have of bringing down prices overall and getting the economy rolling again. And so I think we're going to see that. I think you're going to see definite moves on the trade front. I don't think we're going to annex Canada just yet, but hey, you never know. They're falling apart. In fact, just real quick, have you noticed that all the world governments are collapsing? You got Canada, you got Germany, you got France, you got Syria, you got South Korea.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on right now. So I think we're going to see some.
That's a great point.
Moves by and you have to wonder about why the timing of that is. But I think you're going to see some quick moves from Trump on the trade front. And then lastly, I think you're going to see him trying to knock some heads together on Ukraine and Russia. And also, it sounds like there might be an Israeli-Hamas deal here pretty quick, but he's going to see what he can do to get things sorted out there as well. So that's a lot.
Yeah, and it really is. Like, we've talked about this recently with things like the economy and how the issues of the world are deep and rooted and have, and splinter off in a million different directions. There's no magic cure to anything. And there's to undo or to fix these major issues is a massive undertaking that, certainly can't be done overnight. But it really is surprising how much can be done. It doesn't solve problems, but how much can change in a super short period of time if somebody is focused on what they're doing and have it will have the full power of Congress, the Senate, the White House, like just undoing regulations from executive orders which can literally be done overnight, can have a massive impact on the economy in certain industries. And what made me think of this is what you just said, Susie. Also, just the way that the world suddenly changes and reacts to world leaders react to a strong American leader, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Joe Biden is a weak man. He is a weak man that does not present the strength and competence, and is just begging to be taken advantage of. And that is sensed, on the world stage. And the moment Donald Trump was elected, he's not even in office yet, but like you just said, it just seems like the world changed overnight. And I mean, it just really is unbelievable how quickly things can change and big differences can be made just due to an election or, a new person in office or new party in charge.
Absolutely.
And I guess there is some optimism to be had from that situation. Last question, Susie, I wanted to ask you, you guys at redstate.com have an article up about Elon Musk. The article is about Biden paying the media millions to go after Elon Musk and his companies. You can comment on that if you want. I wanted to just ask you the more general question about Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy's role in this, in the Doge that's being created. And they've been making news this week. How much are you looking forward to seeing these two in action as part of this Trump administration? And do you think that they will have, a impact in short order on cleaning things up?
Well, I think they're going to run into a lot of hurdles and obstacles because the swamp, as Chip Roy put it earlier today, swamp going to swamp. I think they're going to run into it. And they are bound by certain laws and regulations that they're going to have to play within that rule book. But my sense about both of them is the same thing that I think a lot of people have felt all along since this concept really was first put out there. And it's kind of like the movie Dave. I don't know how much of it you remember, but that was the whole premise of it. Was basically Kevin Kline ended up coming in as the sub president and looked at things through an accountant's eyes as opposed to through a politician's eyes. And these guys are entrepreneurs. They're businessmen. They know the bottom line. They've been very extraordinarily successful. So they're looking at this with a fresh set of eyes and with innovative ideas. And I think that bodes well for all of us. And it's sure going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm just overall really interested and optimistic about watching this very unique presidential administration with, people like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. and, just this very different way to put together an administration. If they are successful, if they are productive, it could be a game changer in presidential politics moving forward and how presidential administrations and teams are built. And of course, obviously, if it causes more drama than it does results, then the opposite is true. It'll be a quick return to the old ways. So it's one of the things that I will be fascinated as everybody will be watching as Donald Trump and his team take over in January. And we'll be all over it here at News Talk STL, and they'll be all over it at redstate.com. And Susie Moore will be helping both of us, Red State and News Talk STL.
Doing my darndest.
Susie, thank you so much, as always, for your time this afternoon. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend. Have a great day.
Thanks, Tony. Have a great day.
You bet. That is Susie Moore from redstate.com. All right, rolling on here. Here's a fun story. We need a little fun at the end of a crazy day. 2 police departments from the Ozarks will be featured on a new national television series. It's Cops, the Missouri version. I'll tell you about it. We'll talk about it in a minute. Johnny's got thoughts. I can already see that Johnny's got thoughts. I'll fill you in on what's happening and how these local police departments could be national celebrities in short order. Talk about it next here on Colombo and Company.
This is News Talk STL.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. You've heard Dave Sylvester in studio with us many times, giving us tips and a heads up on what to look for and how to best protect our gutters, our siding, the fascia and soffit on our homes. And if you do have any issues in any of those areas, then the Gutter Pros are the team to call. Of course, this time of year with the freezing temperatures, if you have any gutter issue at your home or business and water is not draining properly this time of year, that trapped water will freeze, and that will obviously create a problem that can complicate things and be damaging and costly long term. Just before this winter season, we were talking about the leaves falling. If you don't have the proper leaf protection on your gutters, and that the leaves can start that clog, and then the water's trapped, and then right after the clog happens, then the freezing happens, and everything gets complicated. And that is why it's so important to remember that the Gutter Pros are there for you. If you have any gutter issue at your home or business, any siding issue at your home or business as well, they do it all. Leaf protection, gutter repair, new gutter installation, siding repair, new siding installation, fascia, soffit. They do it all at Gutter Pros. If you have any issue or think there might be a problem at your home or business, don't wait. Call the Gutter Pros now at 314-656-7195 or learn more and contact them through the website gutterpros.com.
Hey, Tim Jones here with a reminder. Winter is the perfect time to obtain an expert evaluation of all your trees, shrubs, your biggest assets for safety, health, or maybe even removal. Hanson's Tree Service, locally owned and operated, not only can consult with you on the exact services you need, but during the winter months, you might even save more money. Keep their emergency number handy in case you need it. Emergency removal anytime over the winter months. Hanson's Tree Service, 636-379-1830, hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
The more we learn about the 1,500 commutations, 39 pardons Joe Biden handed out like candy, the more we should get angry. One case involved a woman who stole $54 million from the city of Dixon, Illinois. Biden also commuted the sentence of a judge who took kickbacks to send children to for-profit jails. These are small, almost non-significant when you look at what he did with 3 Chinese spies. He said it is not in the national interest that the Chinese spies continue to serve their prison sentence in their entirety. Why? Not very clear. One Chinese spy was convicted of getting inside our armed forces, now released. And then you have another that is even more disturbing. One of the spies was convicted after police found more than 47,000 images and videos of child pornography on his computer. One video showing an adult male sexually assaulting a female child. And these are the guys that Biden wants to let go, thinks they've served their time. Justice has not been served.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Question: do you know what vermiculite is? It is an insulation in the attics of hundreds of thousands of homes and public buildings. Looks like kitty litter, but often contains asbestos. Wellington Environmental is the largest company in the Midwest that can remove that hazard for you. Wellington has what is called the General, a powerful industrial vacuum that can suck vermiculite out of the attic. Hang on, there's something else you should know. Many of you might qualify for up to a $4,000 rebate. You should at least contact Wellington to see if you qualify. And here's something else. Wellington arrives at the time they give you, not sometime within 4 hours. 314-644-4930. 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com. WellingtonSTL.com. Wellington Environmental. Your world cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Another day, another night, and yes, reports of more drones. And yet, what answer are we getting from the government?
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Now we got something. This is a far cry from Grandma got ran over by a reindeer. Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Johnny. I want to remind you about our stocking stuffer giveaway right now. We want to fill your stockings this Christmas season. We are giving away over $1,000 in various gifts, and all you have to do to get a chance to win is to register at newstalkstl.com. A gift basket from El Morelia Supermercado in Bridgeton, a 1-year range membership from Metro Shooting Supplies in Bridgeton and Belleville. Gift cards from Tropical World Pets on Watson and Crestwood. Gift cards from Woodson Stonefire Pizza on West Clay and St. Charles. News Talk STL merch. All of these things can be yours with the stocking stuffer giveaway. Again, all you have to do is go to our website, newstalkstl.com, get all the details, register to win, and you could be getting some extra Christmas presents from your friends and family here at News Talk STL. All right. 2 police departments from the Ozarks here in Missouri are going to be featured on a new national television show on A&E. The Osage Police Department announced yesterday that it will be featured in a new show called Ozark Law. Johnny is looking at me. He's never taken a story so seriously, which premieres Wednesday, January 8th. A&E says that this initial season is 10 episodes. It follows the Lake Ozark Police Department and the Osage Beach Police Department. So we're talking about the heart of the Lake of the Ozarks. That's, if you're a lake person, that's what this is. This is Lake of the Ozarks justice is what this whole series is going to be about. And he said 10 episodes, Lake Ozark Police, Osage Beach Police, camera people, just like cops and the other police shows we've seen. The camera crews were riding around with the police officers.
I
doing
think
their job.
A&E has fallen from grace, though. Now they have produced some quality. I mean,
Hasn't TV fallen from grace?
Yeah, but I mean, A&E, they were behind the first 48, right? Which is pretty phenomenal crime show.
Yeah,
you know, as real police procedural.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This right here, this is Duck Dynasty.
You don't think
this is Duck Dynasty with cops? That's what this is right here. I'm telling you,
Duck Dynasty was a hit, baby.
but it was fake.
But
And
it was a
wasn't-
hit.
I didn't say it was going to be bad. I said this is going to be Duck Dynasty with cops. That's what this is. This is going to be people that aren't even related, shoehorned into. I would rather look up body cam footage. Like, I'm going to go home and look up body cam footage and see if anyone's posting stuff from the lake on YouTube. You know, if not, that's what I'm going to do right now. So if you guys want to get in on this business prospect I got going on, we're going to.
You can say this about literally any community in the country, in the world. Every community has weirdos, crazy situations. So I'm sure that there is some.
What are they going to show? I guarantee
family-
you there's not a shortage at all of shenanigans to be covered.
We have a family condo at the lake. So I can tell you that there's definitely some.
Oh, 100%. I just don't think it's going to be represented on this show. I like it. It sounds great on paper.
No,
I'm so jaded.
Yeah,
and,
I know. I'm with you on that. But
10 years ago, I'd have been like, "Oh, that's going to be awesome."
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what ended cops, right?
No,
it was friendly fire killed one of the cameramen.
Oh, geez.
And it was in Kansas City. I'm not sure Kansas City Mo or Kansas City, but I was such a huge cops fan,
right?
That now I have to get my fix on YouTube body cam and dash cam footage.
Yeah.
And I don't see this show holding a candle to even an AI voiced.
I guarantee you it was all of these episodes were shot during the summer because there's not a whole lot going on in the winter.
No, I've been down there during the winter.
The Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
So you're going to see a lot of my prediction is a lot of drunk people wearing not very much clothes on boats.
Duck Dynasty with cops. Mark my words.
Police chief at Osage Beach, Todd Davis, said, quote, "We're fortunate to live in a place of natural beauty where the lake is man-made, by the way. It's not natural. We're fortunate to live in a place of natural beauty where people want to visit. But when the population rapidly multiplies literally overnight, it presents unique challenges for our officers. This series shows how dedicated we are to serving the Osage Beach community."
I'll look at an episode.
Police officer near you here in the state of Missouri may soon be a national celebrity thanks to this new show on A&E. All right, that is going to do it for us. Colombo and Company back tomorrow at 2:00. Crane Durham at the helm as I will be checking in. We're going to visit my daughter in Florida for Christmas, so I'll be checking in over the next few days from there. And keep it right here. The O'Reilly Report is next, followed by the Tim Jones and Chris Arms Show on News Talk STL.
Attention reptile lovers, ready to discover your next scaly friend? Welcome to the Show Me Reptile Shop, your ultimate destination for fascinating reptiles and exotic pets, with 3 convenient locations in Troy, St. Peters, and Springfield. We have an amazing selection of snakes, lizards, turtles, and more. Whether you're a seasoned herpetologist or a curious beginner, we've got the perfect pet waiting for you. Show Me Reptile Shop. Visit us in Troy, St. Peters, or Springfield, and online at showmereptileshow.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-6766. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Larry Connors here, and I'm heading to southern Italy for a tour of the most beautiful coastline in the world, the Amalfi Coast. I want you to join me. We'll travel for 11 magical days with professionals from Conservative Tours. They're the best tour operators in Italy. Conservative Tours, an A+ rating with the BBB. $54.88 is your cost. That includes airfare from St. Louis, luxury hotels, dining events you'll remember for years. Call 888-733-9494 or go to conservativestours.com. Join me next spring in Italy on the Isle of Capri, just $54.88, including airfare from St. Louis. 888-733-9494 or go to conservativetours.com. Here's a great way to say goodbye to 2024. Renewal by Anderson, having a 24% off sale. 24% off everything. Windows, doors, 0 payments, no interest for 18 months. Installation, no cost. Perfect. Now just call 314-310-8331. 314-310-8331 or visit rbastl.com.
Hey, firearms enthusiast, looking for a